Good evening, and welcome to the 2022 Berlin Board of Education Candidate Forum. My name is Jeff Kronk, and I am the Berlin High School Social Studies Coordinator and the Debate High School Faculty Advisor. The students in this club put together an excellent program tonight. We've worked very hard the last 3 to 4 weeks, coming up with questions, reaching out to candidates, and hopefully you'll benefit as the audience tonight. I want to congratulate all of them and ask them to stand up and introduce themselves to the audience before we get started tonight. So can you please stand up and introduce yourselves to the audience? I want to have the audience please thank them and give them a round of applause. And I once again want to commend them for their civic participation and dedication to our school and local community. At this time, I'd like to turn the program over to the students, specifically Nico Coops, to come up and please do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, Board of Education candidates, Superintendent Benigni, the Berlin High School administration, faculty, parents, community members, and town officials. Welcome to our candidate forum. My name is Paige Kemish. As members of the Debate Club, we understand the value and importance of active citizenship in our local community, which is why we are all here tonight. The Board of Education significantly influences the decisions that impact all students, including academics, sports, the arts, music, theater, and extracurricular opportunities, to name a few. While we may not be available to vote ourselves in November, we are determined to be a part of the process to learn more about the candidates running for these positions. I would like to thank all the candidates for attending tonight: Peter Zarabozo, Melissa Ann Gibbons, Deborah Lynn Reed, and Jamie R. Miller. We would also like to thank Jessica Petra and Aurora Cordoville, who cannot be here tonight, but prepared opening statements. Let's give the candidates a warm round of applause. This program is not possible without the support of a lot of people. We would want to thank Mr. Benigni, Mrs. Eustace, Mrs. Amenta, Mrs. Ventura, Mrs. Dorito, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Zaytoon and his staff for their assistance in putting this program together. Finally, we want to also thank the audience for joining us in person and live streaming from home. And now Grace will explain the format for tonight's forum.
We would like to review the format for this evening. The forum will begin with opening statements from all candidates, followed by a series of questions, and conclude with closing statements. This forum was intentionally designed to give candidates the opportunities to express their views on various educational issues. The format is not designed for audience-generated questions or candidates to engage in an open dialogue with each other. Anusha will now explain the expectations for opening statements.
Each candidate will have the opportunity to share an opening statement that is no longer than 2 minutes. After all of the opening statements are presented, we will ask a series of questions. Some questions will be for all candidates to answer, while other questions will be only for certain candidates. All candidates will be asked the same number of questions by the end of the forum. Candidate responses to these questions are limited to 1 minute. I will signal candidates if their allotted time has elapsed. At the end of the program, all candidates will have the opportunity to share closing statements that are no longer 1 minute in length. Do any of the candidates have any questions or need any of the procedures repeated? Thank you. We will now begin with the opening statements. First, I will read the following opening statement from Jessica Petraw. Quote, I would like to start by thanking the student debate team for arranging this debate. I apologize for not being able to attend due to childcare conflicts. I would also like to wish each of the candidates luck during this debate. Running for Board of Education, I have a few concerns in mind. When speaking for my daughter's teacher, she had commented that the entire classroom's fluency was low, and she would be working with the entire class using a program from the reading specialist. This is concerning to me. During COVID, so many things changed for these children, and now we are seeing the effects on their education. There should be a very strong emphasis on the basics to recuperate what all of the children lost. Bullying. I am hearing so much of this in the town of Berlin at all school levels, and also on the current Board of Education. I personally know families who have been affected by this. I also hear often that there just isn't enough being done to eliminate the issue. Bullying is completely unacceptable, and I would really like to have a hand in solving this issue in our schools. School safety. School safety is also a top priority for me. Not only are my babies in these buildings, but yours are too. I was given misleading information about the windows in the schools. I have recently had a conversation with our principal about safety while the children are outside at recess from intruders on the school property. I have had to have conversations in the past about children being left outside alone during winter. My first question was, what is your protocol to prevent this from not only happening to my child, but to someone else's as well? I have also had conversations about protocol for contacting home in the event of something happening, as just mentioned, or when children visit the nurse for more serious issues. The conversations I have are not only for my children, but for a friend's children, but also for yours, for every family in the district. Lastly, there has been an uproar by some about me stating that I am a conservative and I am pushing political agendas. There was a claim that I am making accusations that the school is teaching theories I have never heard of. I would like to make it very clear that I have not a single agenda that I'm pushing. The only agenda I am pushing is I want school to be school. School like when we were children. I want our children to have the same quality of education that we received when we were in school. Leave parenting to the parents and let them decide what and when to teach their children about things that may or may not be too big of topics for their children's minds. I continue to find ways to support the schools and community. Recently, I have joined the Willard PTO. I look forward to helping create amazing memories with all of the families in our school community and being of assistance any way that I can. Please support me in helping our schools by voting Petraw for Berlin Board of Education." End quote. Nico will read a prepared statement by Aurora Courtville.
The following opening statement was prepared by candidate Aurora Courtville. Quote, as we head to the polls once again, we're faced with important choices about the future of our town. While I couldn't be with you in person this evening, I felt it was important to introduce myself and tell you about my beliefs and priorities as a candidate of the Board of Education. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, with a BA in secondary education. After graduation, I moved to Japan where I taught English for 10 years. This provided me with a unique perspective that continues to influence my worldview to this day. Upon moving back to the United States in 2002, I settled in Berlin. After working as the assistant manager at a humane society for 2 years, I founded a small nonprofit all-volunteer cat rescue that has helped over 1,200 cats over the last 20 years. I also worked as a substitute teacher in the Berlin Public Schools for a year and as a daycare provider for 11 years. I have worked closely with infants and children of many ages. For the past 5 years, I have been a stepmom to 3 wonderful kids on the autism spectrum. Since my husband and stepchild have moved in, I've become actively involved in the children's experiences at school. I'm running for the Board of Education because I believe that politics do not belong in our schools. I publicly spoke out against the charter amendment seeking to create a partisan BOE. Increasing political polarization threatens the mission of our schools. Ensuring the BOE continues to make decisions that are in the best interest of the students will be an important issue in the coming years. As a board member, I'll advocate for our students, our families, and our teachers. I believe that decisions about what gets taught in our classroom should be based on recognized best practices in curricular design by education experts. This is critical to ensuring students receive the high-quality education that today's world demands. I believe in providing a safe and supportive learning environment for all. students. Our children can only excel if they are in the environment where they feel safe and supported. We have students from a variety of backgrounds in our schools, breaking down barriers and promoting equity. Equity starts with humanizing people that are different from us. It starts with talking to each other and finding common ground. This is the philosophy I will bring to the Board of Education. I am dedicated to helping others and actively changing the world around me for the better. If you will allow me, I would like the opportunity to do the same for education in our community. I ask you to vote for Aurora Courtville on November 8th, end quote. We will now have the remaining candidates provide their opening statements, starting with Ms. Gibbons.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening. My name is Melissa Gibbons. Last year, I had the honor to be elected into a one-year term that I'm completing in November. It was definitely an eye-opening experience. I've been in education, obviously schooling myself. I say education is in my blood. My grandfather, grandmother were both educators. My mom is an educator, or was. She's retired now. My brother's an educator, and I'm a K through 12 art certified teacher. The last 2 years, I had the blessing of being able to stay home and raise my children. And with that time that was given to me, I had the flexibility to be more involved, which can be tough with a 9-to-5 job. And I was thrilled for the opportunity when the doors opened after, things with the pandemic settled down. I was able to get into the classroom, work as a room parent with my kindergartner's teacher, actively with the PTO. I love the opportunity coming into the book fair, volunteering. My decorations are all over the school. I love to be able to do that, to take my creativity and see the excitement of the kids as they're coming down the hallways and getting excited that we just had the book fair last week. The Board of Education, like I said, was eye-opening. I've learned a lot. I still have a lot to learn, and I value the education, and I value what is going to be given to our students to make them the lifelong learners in whatever career path that they go. So I would just like to continue to be able to be a part of the decision-making in the best interests of our students in town.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if I should wait. I'm so sorry. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys so much. This is a fantastic opportunity, not only for you guys, but for us, for our audience, for those at home. So thank you so much. My name is Jamie Miller. I've been on the Board of Ed for 7 years. Some of you have come to Board of Ed meetings and have seen me there. I have 2 children in the high school. I have a freshman and I have a junior. I'm also a social worker, have been for 25 years, and I have the opportunity and the privilege to be in all 5 schools and work with the kiddos from all 5 schools. So I, in our community, get to see what we're facing with our kids, our staff, our parents, our community. I live it every day for work. I think it's important, and for those of you that know me or have been to a Board of Ed meeting, social emotional learning for the kids is what I am passionate about. COVID was extremely difficult for our kids. I feel like a lot of them are stagnant from when we went into COVID to when they came out. Unfortunately, that has been a problem for them, for parents, for administrators, for teachers. When you don't have socialization for a couple of years, it can be difficult. I feel like our job as Board of Ed members is, yes, we put into practice policy. We have to have data and facts to back up that policy. We talk about budget. We talk about what's the best for our kids. I think that all of us have the same goal, and all of us as a community is that we want the best for our kids, we want the best for our students, we want them to be successful, we want them to have future opportunities, and we want to be able to do that the best way that we can. And for me, the way to do that is to make sure that all kids, regardless of what issues that they're facing, can get to that. Thank you. Is that my 2 minutes? Oh, it's not, okay. Oh, well, in that case. So I just wanted to say, furthermore, not that that messed me up because it totally didn't. No, you're good. No, it didn't. Is that when we're looking at the whole student, we're looking at physical, academical, social, emotional, mental health. We have special education programs that we really need to focus on. We have a lot of kids with some mental health issues. We're working on outplacing those kids, and we shouldn't have to do that. We should have the resources available. We should have our community be able to know what's going on in our school system and be transparent about that. And then we, as Board of Ed members, we need to be accountable. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Reed. I thank you very much for this opportunity. I am a mom of 3 amazing young adults that all went through the Berlin school system. My daughter is an electrical engineer. My son is working on his PhD at Notre Dame. My youngest is studying finance at UConn. I am also a Berlin High graduate, and so is my wonderful husband, who's here tonight. Thank you very much for your support. I went on to school to become an X-ray technician and then a radiation therapist. My husband, who is also an electrical engineer, there's a theme there. You have an electrical engineer when your father's an electrical engineer. But he has had an amazing career. He has had an amazing life. I believe we were all able to accomplish our desired goals because of the strong education that we received here in the Berlin school systems. My parents moved my sisters and myself to Berlin because they believed this too, as did many families, and many more will move to Berlin because of its strong education. I have been a volunteer in the school system since my daughter entered kindergarten in 2002, which is a long time. From room mom to all-night grad, I have been committed to serving our community and have enjoyed every minute of it. I have met some amazing people. From sports to theater, whatever my kids wanted to participate in, my husband and I were behind them 100%. Plus, I wanted to support other students. I wanted to support their teachers, their coaches, the community in any way that I could. Being an active member of our community has always been important to me, and to put a positive impact on my time here. I am currently an alternate on the Board of Ethics, and I am the secretary of the Berlin Town Republican Committee because I want to learn and continue to be involved any way that I can. And I would really appreciate an opportunity to be on the board to continue the great education that our systems have been giving to my family and all of those who have graduated before. Thank you very much.
My name is Peter Zarabozo. I'm a father to a 5-month-old son, and I am an ardent supporter of public education. I think public education is one of the greatest things that we can offer citizens and students in our country and state and town, and I believe that it needs to be protected and supported. I think that public education and schools are the very fundamental core of any community as it becomes the centerpiece of exchange of ideas, interactions between community members, parents, students, where many folks will make friends and lifelong bonds that they carry out throughout their life. In recent times, it concerns me that public education has kind of come under the gun as being they're taking some abuse and being questioned as to whether it should be warranted or coming under being scrutinized. And I will always stand to defend public education because I think it's one of the best ways for someone to get out into the world and have a level playing field, and it's also one of the best ways for someone to advance up the ladder and obtain that American dream, which seems ever so elusive in our current economic situations. With that said, I am a product of public education. I grew up in the city of Meriden in a household that was not very wealthy at all, and public education gave me the opportunity to to go to college, to obtain the knowledge I needed to sustain a middle-class lifestyle and have a family. And I think that that is something that I look back on and deeply value, and that's just something that I want to protect and enshrine for any student coming through our educational system in the town of Berlin. Thank you.
Our first question is for all candidates, and as a reminder, you have 1 minute to respond. You will be signaled by Anasha when your time is up. What are the most important qualities for a member of the Board of Education, and how do you embody them?
I figured we were going down the line, but I don't know.
We will start with Ms. Gibbons.
Thanks. Thank you. So I prepared as I would going into an interview because I just want to make sure, and I apologize if I keep looking down at my paper, because I just don't want to walk out of this forum regretting that I did not say something. So if you see me looking at the paper, that's why. Reviewing all these questions, right? The most important qualities of a board member, I believe, is being prepared, being a good listener, and being available to all the stakeholders. When I'm talking about being prepared, I'm talking about looking in, reviewing all of the information that's given before the meeting, asking questions, whether it's before the meeting, during the meeting, to have a better understanding, because ultimately we are making some big decisions, and with those big decisions, you need to make sure that you have all the facts in line. I do say that I go above and beyond in terms of getting some information where I will do research, oh my goodness, on my own. And the other one I would say is being a good listener. Everyone has something to offer, something to say. We all come with different perspectives, and that's the beauty of it. We all come from different backgrounds and different expertise, and being able to listen, respect all different opinions and perspectives is definitely important. Oh, that's a very polite, was that it? Okay, that was the chime though? Oh, okay. Sorry, now I get thrown off. The other one I would have to say is just being available to the stakeholders. I said in my election last year, transparency is important, and it still is important to me. My number is out there, my email is out there, and even after this evening's event, all of my answers, because I know that I'm not going to be asked all of the questions this evening, but I think it's worthwhile for everyone to know where I stand with these questions, so they will be typed up, and they will be available to the public to read after this evening.
Apparently a minute goes by very quickly, so. All right, I have 4. I'm gonna list them, and then I'm gonna go through them quickly, since I talked so quickly. All right, mine is clear vision, focus on the student, communication, and accountability. Clear vision, factors that affect students' performance and realistic effective goals that focus on the entire student. As you know, I'm a huge proponent of social emotional health, physical health, and that leads to academic success. So I feel like the board needs to have a clear vision, and me as a board member needs to know what my vision is coming into the Board of Education. We have to have a focus on the student. School practices, policy, budget, and curriculum are based on students and solutions that address the individual needs of our student population. Communication, which is extremely important. Partnering with the community as a whole, teachers, staffs, parents, community members, to address the challenges, values, needs of our community, of our students, of our families. And then most importantly is accountability. Transparency with the public and having facts and data to back up that policy. To be forthcoming in the challenges that are present with the day-to-day interactions at the schools, with our students, and with our family. Did I get it in? Yes. All right. Thanks.
Important qualities of a Berlin Board of Education member. someone who is involved in the community, somebody who is a problem solver, somebody who is a good listener, somebody who is willing to find the truth. I am a parent, I am a community volunteer, and I have been willing to learn and serve for many years. Thank you.
I think some important qualities for a Board of Education member are, first off, a strong conviction for public education, public involvement, communication, promoting a culture of transparency, and also recognizing that you yourself are not going to be an expert on all the subject material coming before you, and you should have respect for people who are, and have respect for the staff that you'll be working with in order to arrive at decisions that are going to impact the education system as a whole. And lastly, I think that it's imperative to be involved with the community and to promote community events. Thank you.
This question is for Ms. Gibbons and Ms. Miller. What are the most pressing issues facing the school district over the next 5 years? Ms. Gibbons, you may go.
I believe the most pressing issues I see facing the school district is maintaining high-quality teachers, recovering learning loss, and the extensive number of initiatives. Teachers are overwhelmed from a number of materials that they have to cover in class, through feel of lack of respect and support. Coming from Waterbury, I can contest to that, as I had 8 years there. My first year working in Waterbury was my best year and progressively got worse and worse. And the reason why it got worse is because there was less and less support. So holding on to good teachers because they're supported and they're valued is extremely important. They should be there. They should be able to teach. They already wear many hats, like parents do. After the pandemic, it's been very clear with the data that's been shown, the learning loss academically, socially, emotionally, that these kids, okay, thanks. Okay.
All right, I'm going to do what I did with my last question. I have 6 that I think are the most pressing. The number one is community collaboration. We have a very disconnected community right now. We have some anger. We have some issues with moving past maybe some of our own beliefs and working towards the greater good of what our kids are. So that's what I think we need to work towards. Melissa already said learning recovery, so I'm not even going to touch on that one. Some potential outplacements because of some mental health issues. I really worry about that. So I want to make sure that we address our mental health issues in the years to come, especially because of COVID. Safety within our schools will always be a concern, so we really need to make sure that we work on our internal relationship development with our security staff, our students, our teachers. We need to know who our kids are. We need to know what makes them tick, what upsets them, what makes them happy. We need to have a student-focused budget. We need to be aware that we have some inflation going on, so that's going to affect our budget. And then this is a last one, but we have a vaping issue. So, thank you.
Thank you. This next question is for Ms. Reed and Mr. Zaragoza. In your opinion, who and how should decisions be made on what is taught in our classrooms? Ms. Reed?
Thank you very much. Who and how should decisions be made? In my opinion, schools have been highly politicized in the past few years. Queer theory, social justice, CRT, tax the rich, these are all in the classroom, whether or not we want to believe it. Activists have endorsed this and funded it. We've all seen what happened in Greenwich. We've all seen what's happening in Southington. According to the Manhattan Institute, a report that 62% of recent grads from the ages of 18 to 20 were taught CRT-related concepts. 69 report being taught that America is a systemically racist country, and 57% report learning that white people have unconscious biases that negatively affect non-white people. The community knows what is best for our students. Our teachers and staffs can get us to where we need to be. Thank you very much. It's okay, I'm a reader, I apologize.
In terms of who should decide what goes in our curriculum, I think it should be similar to any public meeting that you might expect, right? We're going to want to look for input from our community, and we're going to want to base the decisions of what we do on best practices in the world of academia. Ultimately, the decisions of what's going to go on the curriculum are going to come from the board, but my understanding is that we currently have a committee on the board for curriculum as well. I think the community should be welcome to participate and review any minutes in the meeting, and give feedback just like anything else. But ultimately, it should be down to what are the best academic practices, and the board, parents, and staff should work together to come up with a collaborative solution and move forward from there.
Thank you, candidates.
This next question is for Ms. Miller and Ms. Reed. Please describe how the Board of Education can involve more students in the decision-making process for how our schools function and represent their goals, interests, and values. Ms. Miller, you could start.
Me? Yeah. Okay. To me, that's a great question. It's also, for me, very easy. Talk to your students, ask them questions, do surveys, give out information, be involved, know what's going on in their lives, know what their parents think. In order to get students involved, you have to want their involvement. You have to ask them, you have to actually be interested in what they're saying. So the two student representatives we have on the board are extremely helpful to us right now. They give us updates, they let us know what's going on, and we are not the age of students, so they think and feel things differently than we think they may sometimes. So their opinions on the matter are absolutely imperative to us making decisions. So students, this is what we're on the Board of Ed for, the students. So just talk to them, be in the schools, ask questions, know what's going on.
Thank you for that question. Events like tonight are awesome to have all these students involved, but students are overwhelmed and booked solid because there are so many wonderful opportunities that our town has. As a Board of Ed member, I think we need to be involved and in the schools more often. I think that there has to be a way that we can be accessible and just introduce the students, be at the open houses, and make sure that we are known. Maybe have a name tag, have a different way to get the information out there. Thank you.
Thank you for your responses. This question is for all candidates. Please describe how your personal and professional experiences will impact your service as a Board of Education member. We will start with Mr. Zaragoza.
My personal and professional experience, I work as a registered nurse and have been for 11 years, and also have managed a clinic for several years in upstate New York. In my experience, working in the capacity that I do, it requires a lot of collaboration with a wide variety of disciplines and people from different backgrounds, and we all share the common goal of treating the patient. The patient is always the center of the care and what we're doing. So to translate that to being a Board of Education member, it's the same thing. The student is the center of what we're doing. Anything and any decision we make should be focused on how it's going to impact the student or for the betterment of the student. And I think in my professional experience, we have a bad habit of holding sacred cows or practices that we have done for years and think that's just the way we do things, and we need to focus on best practices, and that often gets missed.
So as I said before, I have been a volunteer since 2002. I've been involved in everything from room parent to band to the parent advisory group. I'm a community volunteer. Anything that they need a volunteer for, there's my name. I'm an alternate on the Board of Ethics. I'm also a Berlin High graduate, so I know what it was like to be in the classroom way back when, where things were different, but I do understand that. I have a lot of neighbors that I talk to on a regular basis, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure that our kids get the best education they could possibly get. Thank you.
Excuse me, sorry. I'm a parent, first and foremost. I'm a social worker. Like I said before, I have the opportunity to be within the school system. I've been on the Board of Ed for 7 years. Again, if you've seen me at a Board of Ed meeting, you always know what I stand for. There's no question about that. Again, social emotional. It's important for me in my personal life as well as professional. I'm a pretty outgoing person. I'm an extrovert. I like to talk. I like to ask questions. I think it's important for Board of Ed that if you want to know what's going on, that you're able to ask your community members questions. You ask your parents. Parents ask you questions. Teachers ask questions. Administrators ask questions. And I feel like I need to have the answers to those. And if I don't know the answers, then I need to find out what that is. Again, I've been lucky enough to be on the board for 7 years. It's a learning experience. Thank you.
I'm a mom, number one, and as I expressed before, I'm a teacher. I actually just took on a part-time teaching role at a local preschool, so I'm adding a preschool teacher to my resume. I love being involved in the schools. I love being part of the learning process and the creative process and seeing the kids grow. Being on the Board of Ed last year, I was able to experience even more because of the opportunities that were presented. I attended all of the meetings, including all of the retreats. I made an effort I was able to attend one of the CABE retreats, conferences, over the summer. So any opportunity that was given to me to learn more, to understand more, to be able to bring back to the board, I would take those opportunities, and I'm going to continue to do that. Luckily, with the flexibility that I have, I'm going to take on those opportunities to be present.
Thank you for your responses.
This next question is for all candidates. If the school district is faced with a tight budget cycle where spending cuts are necessary, please explain the process the Board of Education should follow when making these cuts. We will start with Ms. Miller.
The least disruption to the students as possible if we have a tight budget cycle. Teachers, class sizes, diverse class offerings should be paramount in ensuring that the high standards that our communities expect of our Board of Education is continued. Families move into town because we have a great school system, so we hope families will support our educational system, but again, students come first.
Ms. Gibbons.
With the budget, I think the biggest thing is, one thing I wanted to clarify is there's a misunderstanding that the budget itself can never be cut. You can have the same budget, you can have increases, right? And you can cut the increase. For example, last year, we all voted for an increase of 4.67%, right? But it was cut to 2.5%. Spending cuts, obviously, we want it to be as less impact on the students. The students are number one priority. So there has to be a priority list, and based on the cuts, it should be based on the urgency with input from everyone, teachers, parents, community members, taxpayers, It has to be a collaborative effort.
Mr. Zaragoza?
In terms of budget, there isn't a lot of wiggle room in managing a budget because a significant portion of the budget is related to labor, i.e. teachers and staff, and those are contractually obligated. However, any cuts should have zero or minimal impact to students. Some of those cuts could be better managing the facilities, such as improved efficiencies in energy use, paperless workflows, cost sharing with other departments in the town, combining resources to save money, and even considering cheaper and more economical sources of learning materials, such as open learning sources that are promoted by the U.S. Department of Education, which also allow for more accessibility and transparency. Lastly, the next move would probably be looking at purely administrative cuts. I would not want to make cuts to teachers or that would impact sizes of classrooms.
Ms. Reed?
Thank you. Like in your business budget or your home budget, we need to focus on needs versus wants. What we need is a good, solid education around reading, writing, and math for all students. That should be our focus, and we should do this by deprioritizing the things that we do not contribute directly to those needs.
Thank you. This question is for Ms. Gibbons and Mr. Zaragoza. Please share what you see as the most important priorities for Berlin Public Schools to ensure that an equitable education is offered to all students. We will start with Mr. Zaragoza.
The most important things to offer an equitable education is to make sure that students have access to the resources they need. It's a holistic approach that ties into everything with the student. You know, do we have mental health services that can assess students and see that they're in a stable home? Do we have the appropriate assessment abilities and resources to give them what they need? I think the most important thing to focus on in equity in this environment with recent events like the pandemic and mass shootings, et cetera, is truly the mental health of our students, because depression and anxiety is through the roof, not only in our society, but with our students, and we need to ensure that every student has the ability to get help or guidance or the reassurance they need so they can have an appropriate education within our facility.
Ms. Gibbons?
I truly believe that teachers have been and already are striving to differentiate instruction in their classes to meet the needs of all of their students. Their goal, the goal of our school, is the success of all students. Education is already equitable because teachers follow state standards. IEPs, 504s are put in place for students who need them. Services should be available for those who may be struggling. Teachers have the students' best interests in mind. Support from the administration, proper professional development can be great resources that will help support teachers to provide the best education for their students.
Thank you. This next question is for all candidates. How will you balance your personal and political beliefs with fellow members who may disagree with you, and how do you recommend the board handle these differences of opinion? We will start with Ms. Reed.
With who?
Ms. Reed.
Ms. Reed. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Communication is key. You have to have an honest discussion with all involved. You should be asking questions or presenting facts. All opinions should be heard. All facts should be presented. It would never be about my opinion. Never would I, nor have I, threatened or intimidated or ridiculed any opposing views or any opponent. Thank you.
Mr. Zaragoza.
You have to be open-minded and willing to work with anyone, regardless of their personal or political beliefs. When you're a member on the Board of Education, especially in a town like Berlin, you know, the last thing that should be a consideration is what someone's political belief is. You know, we're all here to serve the best interests of the students, and regardless of what each individual's political belief may be, you know, it's not our job to sit here and represent a political belief or a political party. Our job is to set policy and do what's best for the student body. So having an open mind, being professional, respectful, sticking to the facts, and working with your partners or fellow board members in good faith are all the things you need to do to keep the operation smooth.
Ms. Gibbons?
When I get elected, I will continue to listen, be respectful of all opinions and perspectives. Coming onto the board last year, I thought this was something that was already embraced. However, sadly, that was not always the case. Some members of the board were quick to judge or conclude what my intentions were without giving me the chance to ask questions or express where I was coming from. Individual voices should not feel as they don't matter. We all offer perspectives through our experiences, through our expertise. It's okay to present questions. It's okay to raise concerns, especially when you're questioning what's in the best interest of our students. I welcome different perspectives. I support finding a common ground. Working together doesn't always mean agreeing, and that's okay. All right, if everybody is committed to supporting the district's missions, goals, and placing the students' needs first.
Ms. Miller?
All of these candidates have said some great points. I would just add, you know, it's important to talk about it, listen to conflicting points. You have to be respectful and compromise. Most importantly, you have to agree to disagree, and there's 9 Board of Ed members for a reason. We're not all going to agree. That's why there's a number of us.
Thank you for your responses.
This concludes our questioning of the candidates. At this time, we invite each of you to present a 1-minute-long closing statement. Mr. Zarabozo, you may begin.
A vote for me is a vote for someone who is going to have the conviction to defend our public education system, advocate for an adequate budget that will hopefully lead to not only sustaining the current size of our classrooms, but ultimately reducing it. Someone who is going to stand up and defend the school system from any severe budget cuts and really put the students first. I really think that the mental health of our students in this climate is paramount. I think we need to focus on safety, and we need to also focus on technology and look at how we can better implement technology into the classroom and also better understand how it's impacting students throughout the lifespan and throughout school. With that said, I hope you'll consider voting for me on November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gibbons?
So once again, I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity, and I'm hoping that the public was able to get some answers to the questions that they may have. Like I said, I had the honor of serving last year. I look forward to serving again, giving back to the community as I can, supporting parents, supporting students, supporting teachers, because we all need to succeed, and in order to succeed, we need everybody's help. Everybody needs to help one another in the best interest for the success of our students.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
All right, since it's only a minute, I'm going to read mine. The caliber of Berlin school staff, our students, our families, from administrators to teachers, support staff, and as I said, community members, students, and parents. Berlin is a top-ranked school system where quality educators want to be. I think it's important when we look at our school district that we all have a voice in how we move forward within our school choices, options, opportunities for our students to be successful. It's done through a responsible and transparent budget, that supports special education, social emotional learning, a variety in class offerings. Students need to be challenged. They need to be independent thinkers and learners who have adequate resources and opportunities available for growth through all levels of their education. And as Board of Ed members, that is our responsibility.
Thank you for your response. Ms. Reed, you may begin.
Thank you very much. I read an article this afternoon that said, "My educational experience instilled in me a sense of gratitude and optimism for America, but this is regrettably absent in our culture today." Unfortunately, I believe that we have taken a little bit of a left turn, and I believe that we need to go back to giving our children the fundamentals that they need: a strong math, reading, writing skills, so that they can get the careers that they need to have a middle-class family, to be part of the American dream. COVID has done a lot of damage, and we need to do a lot, and our community is strong. Our teachers are amazing. They've been amazing for a long time. We need to let them do their job. We need to give them the support they need, and I hope you elect me on Berlin Board of Education. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your response. Once again, we would like to thank all of our candidates and our audience, both in person and at home, and to everyone who made this event possible. We hope the information shared tonight helps you guys make an informed decision on Election Day, and we hope that everyone has a wonderful night, and please drive home safely. Thank you.